Hey guys, how you doing? So if you've been watching the channel, you would have seen me building this submarine, and I think now it's ready for the workshop. It's not fully completed, and I'm probably going to be adding more details, nothing really major. But yeah, I just want to go through in this video how to work it and how to set it all up and all that good stuff. And if you're wondering how this was built, then check the description below. I've got all the videos on it for you. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to jump up on the ladder here, and we're just going to go through some of the things on the top real quick. We've got at the back is where we refuel, and we can also attach an umbilical cord for the electricals right here. So this has its own battery, its own engine generator within it, but if you want, you can actually run it off a ship or something and pretty much have it stay down there forever. But you've also got the fuel here, and it's also got its own little winch, and both of the cables and hoses are right here for you. Around the sub we've also got rope anchors. There's a couple at the back here, some on the top for the crane, and then there's one at the front up here. We've also got where the engine air intake is and the exhaust, as well as some of the ballast ports, as well as some equipment hatches. We've got the diving equipment for the second person, and then we've also got some just general equipment, rope for the anchors, welding torch, things like that that you might not need whilst you're underwater, but you can also just grab while you're surfaced. Also got some of our sensors, GPS, radio, all that good stuff, and the hatch. So if I don't fall off, we can actually jump in. And this airlock's really only for one person, but it's not a huge multi-crew sub to begin with. Here we've got a diving equipment for whoever's leaving the airlock. We've also got a screen here. This is the first screen that you'll see, and it's the airlock just screen by itself. And so we've got the water level, and if you want, you can drain it. And throughout the screens in the sub, you'll see a pressure output, and the higher this is, I've kind of calibrated it to the pumps that are within here to say whether, you know, we're in optimal pressure. So right now it's 0, so full pump speed right there. Also got some oxygen, flashlight, underwater welding, all that kind of stuff that you need. And for the bottom hatch here, this is a dock hatch, which I'm really happy on this submarine is that we can actually dock to other hatches on here. And we can also do that by the frequency. So if whatever you're docking to has its own frequency radio as well, what we can do is set that, and then we can hit the magnet. It will turn R1 on, and provided it's on the right frequency, it'll turn the other magnet on whatever you're trying to dock to, and therefore the controls will work on the other side. You don't have to get out or anything, which is pretty cool. Coming through, we've got a couple passenger seats, med kits, fire extinguisher, and the arm operator. This one has a grab arm for whatever might be any samples or whatever. And then we got the main pilot seat. We can jump in, all the screens light up here. I'm going to come over here to the lighting panel on the top right and just get some white lights on. We've also got a red light option. We'll just leave the white on for now. And we'll start, I guess, with just the front main panel here. This is going to be our sub parameters. It just gives a basic output of everything that's going on that you really need to know. So we've got battery, distance to seabed, as well as depth. We've also got target depth, which is for our depth hold, which I'll go through. We've also got our battery drain rate, which I think is quite useful. You can actually turn off or slow down any motors and just kind of see how much battery you're using, as well as all our engine, generator, things like air and fuel and exhaust, things like that. Below we've got manual generator controls, which I'll be going through, and just a radio screen right here, pretty normal. So for the quick start right here, what I'm going to do first things is come over to the left panel, which is our pumps for the generator. And so what we can do is, while we're surfaced, fill the air, and as you can see, that will fill air into our tanks. So the generator is fully enclosed and can run underwater, provided that it has enough air, fuel, and the exhaust tanks aren't full. And you can actually drain the exhaust tanks while underwater as well, but that obviously has a pressure limitation right here. And so while that's filling, what we can do is go up to our drive tab. WASD is for our propellers on the back, so W forward. And what's cool about these is both propellers are independently controlled. So if I were to fully slow down, I can actually do a kind of tank style steering and turn on the spot. And on the drive screen you'll obviously see your speed, whether using autopilot or how much throttle you're actually given. And on the seat, if you press 3 as default, we can go into cruise mode, which will lock whatever throttle we're giving it, and then hotkeys 1 and 2 will increase that, and it will remain like that. You don't have to hold the buttons down, which I think is pretty nice. Our air is pretty much full at this point, it's not really going up too far. So what we can do is come over on the screen, there's another tab right here, we can start filling the ballast. So the red line is the minimum ballast required for depth hold. So if you're at the red line, then depth hold will start working, you actually go underwater with little to no problems. And then the green line is the optimal ballast for depth hold, which is about 6,000, so we'll leave it there. And when you're at this ballast level, you'll be lower in the water, but depth hold you'll be at a weight where it can work quite nicely. So what you'll see here is that we're about 20 meters from the seabed, so we'll go down about halfway for that, about 10, and I'm using the up and down keys right here, and it's changing my target depth right there. We've also got 2 switches right here for regular depth hold and stationary depth hold. So what we'll do is, while we're moving, this depth hold is actually going to use our dive planes. So I'll hit that on and we'll start going down. It will use the thrust of the motors to just pull us down under the water, and we should eventually equalize at 10. Can increase our speed or increase the efficiency of this a little bit. And now we're pretty much underwater. Very nice. You can manually control the dive planes with up and down arrows, and you can also control the roll of the submarine with your left and right arrows as well. But by default it's automatically stabilized. Now it's pretty dark down here, so we'll come over to our lighting again, and you'll see we have these 4 blue triangles. These are going to be our main lights, so we'll get those on. And each of these corresponds to where it is on the whole submarine right now. So we've got the front lights on, the 2 little side lights there, and also the rear lights. And then the green in the middle is going to be general lighting. That is those 4 top lights you see up there, as well as the 4 spotlights on the bottom. What we can also do while we're here is switch over to our map screen, and this is just a basic map screen. You've got moving around, zoom in, zoom out, and then kind of reset. It also shows your coordinates and whichever way you're facing on the map. And what we can also do here, I guess, is just get an autopilot in. So you notice this keypad right here, this is for autopilot obviously. And we'll go somewhere that's pretty deep, so maybe all the way out there. And so we can punch that in, and we've got the autopilot switch right there. And that will put our waypoint on our screen. And you can see we're actually changing direction towards the waypoint, and we now have no control over the submarine steering because autopilot is on right there. Next we'll go over this panel right here. Next to the autopilot we've got a switch for our emergency transponder. We've also got our reserve battery right here. In the case that your battery is broken or is out, you can switch to the battery right here and it will just supply the main power with this battery charge. But currently it's not connected. Also got a heater right here, and we'll just put that on. Then we've got a couple flares. We've got about 8 flares on the side, you might have noticed, and we can just press this button and it will send it off, decrease the count, and it will do left right alternating of illumination flares. Pretty nice. Now I'm going to turn autopilot off right now because I'm going to decrease my speed just by turning off cruise mode. And what I'm going to do is flip the stationary depth hold switch, and what this will do is it will take us off dive planes and put us into propeller mode. And what we are now doing is not moving, but we are remaining underwater, and we are currently sitting at our target depth, which I lowered a little bit. What we can do is simply just decrease this further down to about 80 right there. It does decrease slower than dive planes obviously, but as you can see we're not moving, and this is something I'm really happy with on the sub. you can just kind of sit still and not move whatsoever, which is great. You still move while using stationary depth hold, despite the name. You can pretty much move at full speed as well. Okay, so while we're at the seafloor just hovering, I can show you the arm right here. If we jump into the arm operator seat, the screen will light up and we'll have a camera feed of the arm itself. Now using WSAD, we'll pan the arm around and you'll see that on the front right here. Our arm is moving around. It doesn't really have a huge range of motion, but it can extend pretty far. If we use up and down arrows, you'll actually see on the screen our slider will increase out to max right there. And then we can look around. Pressing the spacebar or whatever button you have set to your trigger will set the magnet on. If we press hotkey 3, we can switch to a camera that's fixed on the submarine. So we can kind of get a third person perspective on what we're trying to grapple, if you think of it like that. And if you're playing by yourself and you don't have anyone else in the pilot seat, you can hit hotkey 4 and you'll see now that we have control over the WASD on the submarine. So now we are fully in control of the sub, so we can move this around. And then if we press hotkey 1, the arm will reset itself like that. So now that our battery is getting low, we've been using it a bit, we can look at the generator. Once our battery gets to 70%, it will automatically turn on and it will charge up to full and then shut off. So it's completely automatic, provided you have air and all this. But down here we've got a little manual kind of controls right here. If the generator for some reason is trying to start but it can't, then we can hit the cutoff and it will just prevent that clicking noise that you get and any battery being wasted. And we can also do manual ignition, which I'll do for now because I don't want to wait for our battery to go down. So our generator will now turn on. We've now got a positive battery a minute, so we're now generating. Based off how much you are using on your propellers and things, will actually increase how much this is using. Yeah, you'll see now that the exhaust starts to increase, and we're at a slow pressure right now, but we can still drain this out. If we go back to here and we hit drain exhaust, it goes pretty much instantly. I've got a couple of catalytic converters on there, so it won't generate much exhaust anyway, so it's pretty fine there. You won't have to do this much. But yeah, the generator will turn on. It goes up pretty hot. I don't know if it would explode or not. It goes up to about 85, but it has an automatic cutoff on there for the temperature. So that's something we're going to have to do in the future and change. But yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.